The Cleveland Browns are 4-2, and to this point, to what they've done has been very, very impressive. But there's a talk to be had. The Cleveland Browns have a serious issue right now at the quarterback position. Can it be resolved quickly by the health of Deshaun Watson, or do the Cleveland Browns possibly have to look outside the building to bring in another quarterback? Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate each and every one of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Join the everyday crowd that just keeps on growing by subscribing to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Hello, everybody, and obviously, appreciate all the support yesterday. Cleveland Browns 39-38 victory over the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of ugliness, but hey, when you come out with a victory like that, that is all that matters at the end of the day. And weeks from now, months from now, if the Cleveland Browns continue the success here in 2023, no one's going to give a hill of beans about how the Cleveland Browns beat the Indianapolis Colts in Week 7. The news today, Deshaun Watson going for an MRI, going for a slew more tests on his shoulder. Was the injury aggravated? Did nothing happen? To this point, we do not know. But what we know is that the franchise quarterback that so much was invested into, 3 first-round draft picks, for a slew of other draft choices, $230 million guaranteed. The Cleveland Browns right now have more questions than answers as far as number 4, Deshaun Watson, is concerned. PJ Walker, who has strung together 2 wins for this team over the last 2 weeks. And look, a lot of attaboy to PJ Walker. Obviously the throw to Elijah Moore yesterday was huge and obviously, changed the momentum and was able to get the Browns back in that game. There was some good against the San Francisco 49ers. There was a lot of bad against the San Francisco 49ers. Yesterday was put in a really, really tough spot as, obviously all signs were pointing towards Deshaun Watson returning to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns yesterday. Walker did not play well, has not played well through 2 games. And I'm not sure if extended practice time and, being, essentially the number 1 quarterback over the next few weeks while we figure out this Deshaun Watson is going to be enough. DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I love the future of the young man, but I'm not sure if it's fair to him or it's fair to everybody else on this team to hand over the reins of a team with one of the best defenses in the NFL, one of the best defenses maybe the NFL has seen in a while, and expect DTR to come in here and guide this team through the coming weeks into hopefully what would be a playoff run here. Now, where do you go with Deshaun right now? The question is, and there's many questions, obviously. And as you guys know, when I spoke last week, him coming back, if he had come back Wednesday, I would have probably been all for it. Came back Thursday, which means he had 1 real legitimate practice. Friday is always a walkthrough. And then, pregame warmups, and I don't know if he pushed the Browns into starting. The Browns helped push him into starting. Everybody kind of pushed everybody into him starting that game. But the one thing that we heard consistently throughout the time that he was away is he couldn't drive the ball, couldn't push the ball. Deshaun Watson throws the ball with a great amount of velocity. Always has. And you could see he just didn't have it. A couple of his throws, obviously, chili peppers, killing worms that he had yesterday were very similar to some of the throws he had in his return from his elongated time away from the NFL last year in Houston against the Texans. He certainly had no drive, certainly had no accuracy. So this is a question of, when is this arm going to be 100%? Because he was not 100% when he took that field yesterday. And I do think, and I said this earlier today on Sports for CLE, I think part of the reason Coach Stefanski, when Watson took the hit that he did. If you go back to Baker Mayfield and you go back to the 21 season, that Cardinal game where Baker was out there valiantly trying, and then J.J. Watt just absolutely brutalized him a couple of times, and the injury was even more significant. And you saw that, Coach Stefanski decided that he just had to, I don't think Stefanski was going to let this happen a second time to a quarterback of his. And I do believe that was the absolute sole reason why he was going to pull Deshaun Watson yesterday when he did. He just felt that he wasn't capable of getting it done. And as much as, Deshaun wanted to be out there, and I'm sure everybody in the Browns locker room and coaching staff, everybody wanted Deshaun to be out there. They just realized that he was incapable of being out there. There's a big, big difference, obviously, from going through practices, going through a walkthrough, going through pregame warmups, and then actually physically playing the game. And Deshaun just was not ready. And they stuck with my plan. Maybe you would have started the practice week this week, with Deshaun Wednesday through Thursday and had made the trip out to Seattle. And, maybe he would have been a better chance to contribute. But where I don't know necessarily if he's ready to go this week. And obviously we'll know more, hopefully on Wednesday. No media availability tomorrow unless something, of course, leaks, which is certainly a possibility. We all know the way social media and, obviously that world works nowadays, which obviously leaves what is behind door number 3 for the Cleveland Browns. If you find out you got to sit Deshaun for the Seattle game, or maybe even the Arizona game, you probably play with what's on hand. And that would mean PJ Walker and DTR. Seattle's obviously the tougher game. Arizona plays valiantly. They're not a good team. So what would be the first thing you're going to do here? What can come in and help the Browns now? First thought process would be 2 guys that were just recently with the Cleveland Browns. Josh Dobbs, guys, we're not having that conversation. I'm not going there. Josh Dobbs has obviously done some nice things with his legs for the Cardinals. You hope maybe PJ Walker or DTR, whoever would be the Browns quarterback, they would make an emphasis to let either one of these guys use their legs a little bit more. But the guy, and it makes a ton of sense. It truly does. Jacoby Brissett, of course, who played so valiantly for this team last year. He just comes in. He can help right away. He knows the offense. Obviously, there's some tweaks and some changes that, he was not a part of, during the offseason, but could come in and basically take like a fish back to water to this offense. And yes, Jacoby Brissett, at times had some struggles last year, but also didn't have the advantage of having a number 1 defense in the NFL on the other side of the ball. Jacoby, obviously, not as athletic. He's not going to beat a lot of pass rush. He's one of those guys that beats you with his legs when you're not expecting him to beat you with your legs. But the Browns have to have these conversations, and maybe they have to have those conversations regardless of how these medical tests come out for Deshaun Watson, because this could be something where we don't know. Maybe Deshaun, by the time he can be 100%, means he has to sit out 3 weeks, another 3 weeks. 4 weeks. Maybe this is somewhere Deshaun Watson isn't 100% till March. We truly don't know the answers to this. But the thing is right now this product is pretty good. This defense is outstanding. And the Browns cannot wait around and have to find out what exactly is going to be the be-all, end-all with Deshaun Watson and his health this year. The Browns need a competent quarterback. I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson cannot be that guy, but if his health is going to continue to be an issue, it could alter the path the Browns have to go to at the quarterback position here in 2023. We're going to switch it up here. We're going to talk a little bit more about yesterday, start closing out week 7 with our eyes towards week 8 as the Browns will travel on Sunday to Seattle. 4:25 start to face the Seahawks. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. I appreciate all of you for being along for the ride. LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs, simplest thing now. With these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. So basically, you're going to put up the position you are looking to be filled. You're going to put down the requirements you need, the skills you need. Then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We're the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on the projected stats, and place your entry. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. If you had gone yesterday, Jerome Ford, obviously you would have hit on that one. If you had gone on many of the cold skill players, you would have hit on that one. And so what you're going to do is just put the lineup together and look at the stat projections. If you think he's going to score more than or less than, go ahead and put it in. And again, 2 to 6 players. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. And as always, I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. And join the everyday crowd by subscribing to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we go back to yesterday, and from the offensive side of the ball, it wasn't a great team effort. There were some singular efforts that were pretty impressive. David Njoku. And this is one of those ones where David Njoku, from the people outside of Cleveland looking in, will never truly, understand the player that he is and probably appreciate the player he is the way the Browns fans do. Obviously still recovering from the burn wounds that he suffered, before the Baltimore Raven game. The highest graded player on the Browns offense yesterday, certainly contributed as a receiver, as always contributes as a blocker. For David, it's just going to be an opportunity. It's just going to be getting a quarterback and getting in sync. Through 6 games, the Cleveland Browns basically have had Deshaun Watson start 3, have had PJ Walker basically play majority of 2, and of course Dorian Thompson-Robinson play 1, of course, against the Baltimore Ravens. It's hard to develop consistency in a passing game for anybody when you're not getting just consistent reps. If you got to play with a different quarterback every day, it's just not going to work. All quarterbacks have different skill sets as far as what they do well, what they don't do well. And that's something that the Browns are struggling with right now with the passing game. Certainly didn't help that PJ Walker basically backseated to Deshaun Watson for the rest of the practice time last week. Again, for PJ Walker, do I think he could play better? Yes. Do I think what better is good enough for what the aspirations and what the possibilities of this team could possibly be? Probably not, if we're being honest. Probably need to do better on the other offensive side of the ball. DeJuan Jones, and we're just going to keep having these conversations for the Cleveland Browns to get this player in the 4th round and to make this move. And normally, maybe in a couple of years past, when you had a player where there were questions about commitment, this, that, and the other thing, and whether they were fair or not, that's not what we're going to talk about. But the Browns did take a gamble on a player with DeJuan Jones. And we even said at the time, here was a guy that you were looking at Bill Callahan and saying, hey, Bill, don't know how much more you're going to do this, but here is just this absolute specimen, just an absolute unit. Needs some fine tuning. Going to have to find a way to get him a little bit better as a run blocker, which is extremely, extremely difficult to do for a gentleman who is 6'8", and I guess we'll say 350, because I don't think anybody knows what DeJuan Jones' his weight truly is, and I don't think anybody Cleveland Browns related is going to put DeJuan Jones on a scale anytime soon and question about his weight, because that is how well the young rookie is playing. I think he graded north of 70 yesterday. 40 pass pro attempts, only allowed 1 pressure. It's just really, really coming easy for a player like DeJuan Jones. And I think now, just in this environment surrounded, and we know we had people talk about him the other day, a week or 2 ago, and that DeJuan Jones even when he's not sure of things, he's asking the right questions. He's being a proactive player as far as his own development. And it's really, really coming to fruition here. And, with Jack Conklin going down the way he did, with the injury, and everybody knew it was going to be DeJuan Jones's time. The question was whether or not DeJuan Jones was going to be ready. Well, 5 starts into his NFL career, you've seen him go against players like TJ Watt and go well, go against Nick Bosa and go well, go against some of the Colts edge rushers yesterday and go well, players from the Tennessee Titans and go well. He has just been an absolute revelation here. Most likely will be the Cleveland Browns Rookie of the Year, which you don't think you're going to say when you're talking about a guy who was drafted in the 4th round. But DeJuan Jones, to this point, just utterly spectacular. I know there was a lot of talk on Jerome Ford, but a lot of those plays blown up in the backfield, none of that is on Jerome Ford. There was a big transition from the first week against the San Francisco 49ers into the second half of that game. And then, of course, yesterday, he is not looking to, basically, be this running back that he's not, the Marcus Allen around the end this way. Jerome Ford is just trying to hit the hole at 100 million miles an hour. And that's what you saw in the 69-yard touchdown run yesterday. And to this point, the kid he's really showed well as a receiver, certainly showed well as a runner, kind of putting it all together in a complete package. The yards per carry average is not ideal. And maybe those numbers are probably a little bit inflated with the strength of 2 69-yard runs. Nice to this point. But Jerome Ford has really, really played well and put into a really, really difficult situation, obviously, in week 2, when Nick Chubb, face of the franchise, everybody a guy that so many people in that locker room look up to, is now gone and lost. And, Jerome Ford was the one guy that kind of kept his head in a sea of craziness, and he's continued to do so. Kareem Hunt, and, valiant effort, obviously, yesterday. And even as, Coach Stefanski was handing him the game ball yesterday, basically said, how to this guy out here on one leg. And so Kareem was banged up yesterday. He was, still gave it a go, still got the tough yards when needed, took a huge hit on the first touchdown, and obviously ran into an absolute melee of bodies for that, the game-winning touchdown, which was a great call. Obviously, he brought James Hudson in as an extra tight end. You put Nick Harris in the backfield, and credit where credit's due. Jed Wills drove his guy out of the picture. It allowed for Hudson to get to his block, allowed for Nick Harris to lead through the hole, and then Kareem Hunt. And even when it was the Kareem and Nick show, Kareem was always a little bit better of a short yardage runner. As he lost some of his juice, maybe is where Nick passed him. But huge for Kareem yesterday, and obviously big moment for this team as Kareem Hunt was able to deliver big time for the Cleveland Browns yesterday in a crucial situation. Jerome Ford, ankle injury, so it could be a bit here before Jerome Ford is either in a major role. We'll see. Still again, day to day is what we hear on Mondays, and people get upset about that stuff. Guys, just get over it. All right. Number one, they don't have to spill the beans if they don't want to. B, maybe they don't have the beans to spill. C, if they want to play cat and mouse with their opponent for the upcoming week, let them play cat and mouse with their opponent for the upcoming week. It's just the way it goes. So we'll see where they're at with Jerome Ford. They did release Deion Jackson, who was promoted to the active roster yesterday. I do believe that means that PJ Walker will now officially go on to the active roster. So, the Browns still continue with the roster gymnastics. Does open an opportunity, and I will keep saying this, and I will keep saying it, and I will keep saying it. Pierre Strong Jr. I think there is an opportunity there. And look, I'm not saying Pierre Strong's going to go out there and he's going to be a guy that's going to run for 100 yards a game. But I just think there's some juice there. And I think Pierre Strong is an intelligent enough runner that he's starting to understand this system. He's starting to understand that there's cutback lanes there. And he also understands that that is something that suits the ability that Pierre Strong Jr. has in being a home run hitter with legitimate 4.35 speed. The Browns need to find a way to get this guy more involved. He could be something that they need. And I'm not saying it's a big piece, but if you can get somebody in there with a little bit more juice than Jerome Ford, certainly more juice than Kareem Hunt, it's something to truly consider. So, will the Browns be in the running back market? Is Deion Jackson headed back to the practice squad? All stuff to monitor over the next couple of days. And obviously we'll know more about this stuff, Wednesday leading up to the first practice of the week against the Seattle Seahawks. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. We'll be back for segment 3. Appreciate you all for sticking around. If you are like me and my family, we have a lot of local music venues here, and most of them are outside. So spring, summer, fall, a lot of shows are seen by the Lloyd family. But the biggest issue that we have is we are last second ticket buyers. I work a lot. My wife works a lot. We have teenage daughters. Everybody has crazy schedules. So we need somebody that basically specializes in selling to last minute ticket buyers. That's where Game Time comes in. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and the easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. For me, it's the last minute ticket aspect of it, zone deals. It's the fact that they even have simple things like understanding the economy nowadays. And if you lost a job, and it'll give you your money back. Event cancellation, they let you know before the venue does. That's just how good Game Time works. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. Buy tickets in 2 seconds, tap, tap, you're in. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. So if you don't like the opening act, just wait it out. Get tickets for the headliner. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average of an 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody, of course, who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. And, of course, the Everyday Crowd just keeps on growing. Join the Everyday Crowd by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And, of course, the show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the offense yesterday. We're going to continue to talk here a little bit and give some superlatives out the defensive side of the ball. Myles Garrett. Almost graded to his number, according to PFF, at 94.8. 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, the blocked field goal. And, showing people that today who did not see the Browns game and saying, hey, take a look at this. He jumped over a man who was 6'4", 310 pounds. Like a damn kangaroo, just basically shot out of a cannon. We've reached the point where I don't think there's anything Myles Garrett could do on a football field that's going to surprise any single one of us. He is an absolute legend. He is a Hall of Famer in the making. Just reached 82 career sacks, which means that is the highest sack total in the NFL of any player ever before their 28th birthday. And keep in mind, Myles Garrett still has one more game in October, and Myles Garrett's birthday is in December. So not only is this a record that Myles Garrett has broken, this is a record that most likely Myles Garrett is going to smash to pieces. Dalvin Tomlinson, another strong effort after his week last week against the San Francisco 49ers in the backfield. Presence, pushing the pocket. Dalvin Tomlinson, absolute keeper. I do want to talk a little bit about Maurice Hurst. Some people call me Maurice. This is probably the best feel-good story of this team to this point. There was always a lot of potential with a player like Maurice Hurst, even going back to his Michigan days. And obviously his draft cycle was weird. There were questions, about whether or not he had a heart issue, which it turned out he didn't. Still ended up slipping in the 5th round. Ended up in an absolute abyss of garbage with the Raiders at the time. Had some moments as far as getting some playing time with the San Francisco 49ers. Browns brought him in here. They needed a guy on the interior. And now when the Browns go with their top nickel, dime, pass rushing defensive line, it is Ogbo, it is Adarius Smith, it is Myles Garrett, and it is Maurice Hurst. And he's really just continuing to pay dividends. Another tackle for loss yesterday. This is turning out, and this is also turned out to a point where maybe you're going to consider giving Maurice Hurst a contract extension. It's always been a question of health with Maurice. Obviously, health is on his side right now, knock on wood, God willing. You get to see a guy. And again, when you brought in all of this talent on the defensive line, it's going to flow together. And just one guy being good, this guy being good, this guy being good, opportunities are going to make for some really easy one-on-ones. And you certainly have a guy like Maurice Hurst taking advantage of that. Certainly have a guy like Okoronkwo taking advantage of that. Certainly have a guy like Zadarius Smith taking advantage of that. And it also allows, of course, for the freedom of you to just do whatever you want with Myles Garrett and use him like an absolute chess piece, which is the queen. You can put him over the center. You can put him over the guards. You can put him outside. You can stand him up. And whatever you do, Myles Garrett just seems to basically wreak havoc. The fumble that he caused in the end zone, they wanted to chip on him with the tight end so they could get the tackle to his set. He blew past the chip, blew past the tackle as he was setting. I mean, it was a ballsy call from the Colts to even call it. With Minshew in the end zone, because he has a tendency to throw interceptions. He has a tendency to fumble. And that's exactly what happened in that instance. It just, for Myles, it just continues to go. And, now that he's playing with equals, guys who are his athletic equals, guys who are his NFL talent equals, you're just seeing the whole thing just rise. Absolutely all of it. The cream is certainly rising to the top with this unit. And you throw in an absolute, wizard in Jim Schwartz, who just sits there and laughs because as all this talent at his disposal, and he's not really doing anything too complex. His corners are basically just playing man. His defensive line just seems to continuously get home, rep after rep after rep. The Browns 4-2. And obviously, there's a lot of questions here, and most of them are lied at the quarterback position. And you got a tough game and a really difficult place to play next week in Seattle. And as for right now, we have no idea who's going to be quarterback in that team. Well, I'll be here all week. We're going to cover all the news as it comes, and we're going to try to answer some of those questions. Will the Browns go outside for a quarterback? Will the Browns have to continue with PJ Walker? Do the Browns switch it up and go back to DTR? Will Deshaun Watson come out absolutely medically fine from what happened yesterday and be good to go for Seattle? These are things that we don't have the answers for yet, but we will as the days come here on Locked On Browns. I am Jeff Lloyd. This is now my 7th season covering the Browns for you here with Locked On Browns. I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Keep joining that everyday crowd if you're new. Keep coming back for more by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.